Life, Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you by Woody Overton and executive producer Toby Templey.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney prior to and during any questioning. You can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. You understand your rights?
Your crime spree was over, son. Yeah, you thought you had it licked, but Detective Overton made you sugar turn to shit. Get ready, you're gonna do time. Real life, real crime.
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that are of a sexual nature. It should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts we're retelling you were presented to us by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My description of the crime scenes are what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And today, y'all, we are going to be doing something I haven't done in a long time since we way back in numbers on listeners. I guess like 20 months ago, we might have had, 50,000 listeners, and now we have over 3.5 million. But I used to do an Ask Me Anything session, which is where lifers could send in their questions and ask me, and I would answer them, right, if I could. Some of them were a little outrageous, and I couldn't answer it. But you know what? I'm a little bit outrageous anyway. But first of all, I just want to say thank y'all to everybody for liking and listening and sharing us and just being a lifer, y'all. You're killing it. Patreon members, thank you so much for your support. And your yearly Patreon members, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Couldn't do the show without you. Love all lifers. You rock. And it's been, I guess, 2 weeks since I concluded the series Monsters. And last week I dropped a fully bonus Patreon episode. And I dropped a little funny haha bonus to everybody. But I'm starting a new series. I think it's going to be a series. Next week, it's going to be on evidence. I know I'm going to do a full-blown episode on evidence next week, y'all, and it's important. And then I want to, maybe once a month, I'm going to have y'all tell me your own evidence stories and then come back once a month, and we're going to tell those stories because, in law enforcement, everything boils down to evidence. You're only as good as your evidence. Everything you do, whether it's taking a report from somebody on the scene or collecting evidence or testifying in court about your evidence, everything you do boils down to one thing, and that's evidence. I don't know of any other way to preface it, but then to tell you that it's hugely important. And I'll tell you, next week, I'm going to tell you a horrible evidence story that I actually worked myself. And then I'm going to do that and then come back and tell you how it can be resolved. And actually, it's a local deal that it started with. But I think everybody needs to know about it. So that's next week, y'all. Pad Tracks with CNA is the name of it. So, but this week, I asked y'all to submit your questions to the Ask Me Anything. And it'll be a little bit different, y'all. What I'm actually doing this evening is I'm just cracked open my first beer. And you hear me, excuse me while I take a sip. And we're just going to sit around and have a bullshit jam session. And I'm going to read your questions. And if I don't get to your question today, then I'm probably going to stop this after an hour and then record another one, and we'll play it on another Ask Me Anything session in the future. So if I don't get to your question, I apologize about that. If I don't answer some of your questions, I apologize for that to y'all. If I don't answer, there's a reason for it, probably which I can't go into, but no fault of my own. Anyway, let's see. So ask me anything, and I'm going to drink beer, and you might hear me open some beers or do whatever. I wish all y'all were sitting around drinking with me and we could just have a face-to-face bullshit session. But since we can't, I'll try to answer some of these. And there's really some good ones. I think it's 100 and something questions that lifers had submitted. But real quick, Courtney Coco, y'all just keep your prayers coming. Miss Barbara Blunt, please keep calling in the tips. And I don't know if y'all got to see my post on the crew page, which I think is pushing 31,000 now, something like that. But I did a post. It was in the hunting season, and I hadn't had a haircut or shave since I went to Rapides Parish, and Miss Stephanie, Courtney Coco's mama, asked me to speak at the victims' memorial candlelight vigil that night, and that was the last time I had a haircut, and y'all, that was in September. So I had the big woolly booger man look going on, and I put out a thing on Facebook about the lifer that could do my hair, and Amanda, I didn't see yours until after I already scheduled this one, but I had a large response, but I went with Miss Crystal Falgout of Off the Top in Denham, and let me tell you something, she did a fantastic job. If you've seen the before and after picture, you'll understand. But it really was like a barbershop experience with the hot towel and the cold towel and the straight razor, and just she gave me a new hairdo, y'all. I never had a hairstylist, so thank you, Crystal Falgout. Thank you, Off the Top. All right, here we go. Megan Stringer is from Greenwood, Nebraska. And Megan, I'm going to skip the first part of your question and go to the second one. It says, Megan Stringer, I'm from Greenwood, Nebraska. Other than the monsters, what is the worst case you have ever worked from the start of corrections to when you retire? Shit, I couldn't tell you, Megan. You'd have to put that in context of victims, I guess. Whether the victim was a little baby or the victim in Monsters being so old and such a good victim. And then you have to add in the factors of who did it and oh shit, I don't know. That's a tough one, sweetie. But I can tell you what, you can hear them all. And y'all haven't really, I just starting to scratch the surface on my, what I'll call big cases. Megan, I just have to have it in context. I can tell you, if you broke it down by category, I've worked a horrible one in every category, from a baby to the oldest that you can get, just about. And there's some bad ones. So, but the rest of them, y'all, you're going to hear the ones that you haven't heard already. Of course, Caitlin Adele is horrible. The ones that you already know, this Monsters was horrible. All of them are bad. There's no great. I don't guess anybody calls a detective for a good reason, right? So, Megan, I appreciate you, sweetie. All right, Ashley Hope is from Georgia, Atlanta, hot Atlanta, Georgia. And she asked, has talking about the cases on the podcast come back to bite you during appeals? Excellent question. And Ashley, the answer to that is no. And that's because I don't cover any cases on the podcast that have any chance of being appealed any further. They've all been adjudicated, is the proper word. And y'all know I'm not very good at always using the proper word. But all my cases have been adjudicated. Excuse me, I took some beer. Hell, some of my cases I've told you about, the people around on the streets, right? So no, I would never do anything to put a case at jeopardy. And I'm very cognizant of that, Ashley. So it's a great question, and I really appreciate it. Penny Gamage from Galesburg, Illinois. Will you ever do cold cases from states other than Louisiana? Let's talk about that, Penny. I would like to think so. I really would. I know that Toby Tomplay and I are going to be starting Don't Call It a Cold Case, or actually we've already started recording. We got pretty much the first season done on Miss Barbara Blunt's, but we're not going to release it until after they make the arrest in Courtney Coco's case. But it just takes so much time, y'all. So much time and so much financial effort. When I started Courtney's case, I had $10,000 of my own money that I was going to put up for a reward, and I didn't, because then I was on the ground in Alexandria, Louisiana for 6 weeks, 7 total, but 6 weeks at, living in hotels and shit, it costs a lot of money to work cases. And then you got to consider that was also taken away from my regular consulting business, where I travel the country, do defense consultant as an expert witness in federal courts and law enforcement matters. So when I did Courtney's, I got some personally, and still am, personally and emotionally involved in it. It wouldn't have mattered to me, but I spent, my own money, the money that I was initially going to offer for the reward, and then a lot more on the back end of that. But it just takes so much time and so much effort. Now, Miss Barbara Blunt's case is different because it's in my backyard. I mean, literally, being in from the LP in Livingston Parish, and I have other help that's local. I don't have anybody, several states away trying to play detective and not doing me any good. I have guys that are local that, are true homicide detectives and have actually worked more than one case in their career, and they know what they're doing, right? So that takes a lot of the burden off of that. But I mean, I'd love to do cold cases from all over the United States. I've actually been in talk with several television shows, and I turned them down because I couldn't afford it. I mean, I can't afford to go do that and still do what I do now. So, but great question. The answer is yes, I want to. I would love to think that Toby Tomplay and I, and Don't Call It a Cold Case, will have success on that podcast. We'll be financially able to expand and work them all over the country. I get requests every single day from somewhere in the country, from somebody. There's a poor family that's hurting, just like Courtney Coco's or Miss Barbara Blunt's family. All right, so y'all, I'm really not reading these until I'm getting on them, so I guess I'm still raw and unscripted. And so Jason Corcoran from Central Louisiana says, tell us about the criminal that got away, the one that got the best of you. Well, Jason, good question. I guess I should have read this shit ahead of time. I can tell you, like, this one guy, I stopped him when I was in uniform patrol. I was working dope. I stopped him, and he got out. I got out, and I would never approach them without having them coming back to me, but in case they jump back in their vehicle. He ends up jumping back in his vehicle. We end up going through like 2 different parishes on back roads, which he knew, and I ended up in a shit pond in my unit when it had been raining, long story short. But guys like that got away. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that happens. As far as murder and rapists, I don't have anything that got away per se. I have 2 cases that are very prominently known that I made arrest in. They were never brought to full prosecution, and I'm going to cover those one day when the time is right. And so those, and they didn't get the best of me. It's just, unfortunately, when you're dealing with murders, you're not always dealing with a bunch of Sunday school goers, if you will. Jason, foot pursuits, oh shit, I lost probably 1,000 of them, right? And stuff like that. But generally, I try not to let people get over on me. Like one night I stopped a guy and his dad for a tail light violation or something. And the driver took off running when I went to pat frisk him for officer safety, and it's because he had dope in his pocket. And I couldn't run past the dad who kept getting out of the vehicle, even though I kept telling him to get back in. And I knew something was wrong, right? Well, the driver runs and bolts. And then it comes back that he had a warrant also. The radio dispatch hadn't got back to me yet. The driver had a warrant, but it was riding with his daddy. And you know what I did? I took his fucking daddy to jail. I think he had his daddy had like an expired driver's license or a no seatbelt ticket or some bullshit. And I took him to jail and I towed his truck. So at least they weren't sitting around the Thanksgiving dinner totally laughing about how they got over on me because he still had to make bond, the dad did, and the guy had to get his or the vehicle out. Somebody had to pay the $150 to get the vehicle out. So good question, buddy. Thank you. Carrie Heller Jasper of Titusville, Pennsylvania. One is one thing you wish could have changed while you were still a detective. I guess you're saying, what is one thing I wish I could have changed while you're still a detective? I wish DNA would have been faster. I wish DNA had been more advanced. I wish DNA had been, I'm glad we had it, but man, it took forever. And now DNA is so advanced and they can do it from so many different types of ways. I think that would have been a real boost, not only in solving cases, but in getting confessions, because I could have lied a lot more to the bad guys and be like, bitch, we got your DNA from your mama's daddy's uncle's plumber and you're going to prison. Yeah, so I'm thinking, Carrie, for real though, I wish maybe DNA and technology would have been advanced to what it is now. From talking to some of the guys on Miss Barbara Blunt's case, the detectives, oh my God, you wouldn't believe the stuff that they have now that we didn't have back then. But thank you for your question. All right, so Abby Jenkins, and Abby Jenkins is from DeVille, Louisiana, which I know is up there by Rapides Parish, if I'm not mistaken. Says, do you wish you were still a detective, or do you like telling your stories from your time as a detective? Okay, excellent question. Let me take a sip of beer. Abby, I think maybe I'll always wish I could, I always wish I could be going after, I wish I could be the first person to respond to scenes and again, or maybe look at cold cases I'm getting to do that anyway. Like from a law enforcement standpoint, certainly you always wish you could still be the guy, right? But from the podcast standpoint, getting to help solve Courtney Coco's case and praying that we're going to bring a conclusion to Miss Barbara Blunt's, I love that. I do like telling the stories. I never, ever would have dreamed I would have got into telling the stories. And I just didn't know that I was going to do that, y'all. And when I know I sit down and I record and I don't use the notes and all that, I know I've done a good episode when I get done telling the story and I turn off the recorder and I don't know what the hell I said. And I don't know what I've said until I get it back from Toby Tomplay. Now, I know the facts of the story that I told, but all these Woodyisms and shit that come out, I don't know where they come from. You know what I mean? So I do like telling them, and I really love the fact that so many people see and get some enjoyment from me doing what I do now. But yeah, so I'll always miss being a detective. So thank you, Abby. I appreciate you. All right. Tiffany Jones-Hebert. Originally from Denham Springs, Louisiana, but now living in Rome, Georgia. Tiffany, I lived in Chattanooga for almost a year, which y'all, if you're from that area, that's not far apart. She says, you seem like an extremely busy man, recording podcasts, interacting with fans through various social media platforms, investigating cases, etc. When was the last time you took Cindy out on a date? Excellent question. And this is backed up by Renee Watkins, and she says, Tiffany Jones, great question.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts that spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of an LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gifts to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through. Premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone supporting supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC.
And Renee says, I'd also like to know what Woody considers a great date with Cindy. G-rated, obviously. Nancy Show says, Tiffany Jones-Abear, don't you know that in Louisiana, every marriage is interrupted by hunting season? I'll agree with that. And she says, ha ha, for sure. And Renee says, welcome to the South. And Nancy says, I lived in Louisiana all my life. I was married. I'd probably be the one interrupting the marriage with hunting season. I mean, I'd invite him to go with me, but most men don't like to be out hunted by a girl. Just kidding. And then she put a picture. Hey, that's a nice buck. Nancy, good job for you. Congratulations. So, and they responded on it. Let me go back to the original question. I get this a lot, y'all, believe it or not, about Cindy and I. When was the last time you took Cindy out on a date? I would say, I don't know, last week maybe. But Cindy and I do what we call, you're going to hear me unscrewing my beer can, if that makes any sense. We do what we call date days. Now, that can be a spectrum of things. Date days are generally any time that we can go and be alone together. And we'll pick a restaurant or wherever, somewhere, and go like, I mean, as soon as we can get away alone, like at 11 o'clock in the morning, and go sit at the restaurant and the bar and maybe eat oysters or crawfish all day and drink all day. But ultimately, we end up doing work anyway, especially now with the podcast. Hold on. Y'all know these beer koozies that... They're great inventions. It's not a koozie. It's like a metal can you got to screw your beer into, but that's what you're hearing. So we'll go hang out for a date day, and she'll have her margaritas, and I have my beer, and we just, get her some one-on-one time together. And there's been a lot of times that, we'll have to get the kids to come pick us up or whatever, which is fine. We try to do that often. Now, we still out of date traveling. Our kids are 22 21, 19, and like 10 and a half. And I always joke about the 10 and a half year old and say the television was broke or something, right? Or it was a hurricane and the power was out. She's going to kill me for saying that. But that's just a joke. But the 10 and a half year old is a boy, and he has my same name. He's technically the third. But when you're older, like we are, Cindy and I are, and you're more financially secure, knock on wood, and you've been through, knock on wood, through most of the illnesses and stuff like that, the drama that you go through with kids and teenagers and stuff. Hell, our son is almost like having a grandchild, and the older kids would be the first one to tell you that they couldn't get away with the shit that he gets away with, and that's just the way it is. But the older kids can also watch him, for the weekend or whatever. Now, before COVID, it'd be nothing. We'd jump on a plane and go to Vegas for 3 or 4 days, not to gamble. We'd go to and stay in a nice hotel and pub crawl, from bar to bar and have date time. And well, of course, COVID knocked that out. So we try to do what we can do, but now she is retired from teaching, and we are strictly 100% RLRC. And that's why I tell you, Patreon members, if we owe you something, send it. We work pretty much from the time we get up to the time we go to sleep, and in between, social media and mailing out packages and just everything. It's a lot of different stuff, scheduling. We always try to improve on everything that we do. And y'all, I know that you can tell we've come so far by trial and error since we started. Everything from sound to just bad business relationships or whatever. And we've grown, we've learned, and hopefully we'll continue to do so. Thank you for your question. I'm sure Cindy will enjoy that. All right, so then we're coming back to Renee Watkins. She says, I'm from Memphis. Let me get a sip of beer. And currently live in Nashville. I work for corrections at Central Office, parentheses, geeky numbers / analyst. She asked, have you ever been a trainer, speaker for new potential officers in Louisiana or any other state? Your style would certainly positively impact morale and motivation. Very good question, Renee. I actually was Matt Potan, who's now, I think he's a captain or something for the NOPD, New Orleans Police Department. And I were the first ones for the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office to ever officially be sent to Field Training Officer School, which was really cool. And then, of course, everybody got hired on had to ride with us and train out with us and stuff like that. So that was always cool to get, to weed out the bad ones and pump up the good ones. Motivational speaking, trainer. I've done plenty of training, even in detectives. After I was trained, I trained a bunch that came up after me. Some that were great and some that, were what they were. And so, I always enjoyed the training aspect. The speaking part, I still do speaking, not only around the country, but in Louisiana. But my greatest privilege recently, and it got postponed a couple times because of COVID, was I got asked to speak at the Peace Officer of the Year ceremony for the top Louisiana State Trooper, the top Denham Springs Police Officer, the top Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office Deputy, and the Marshal's Office for Denham Springs. And I was asked by Sheriff Ard to do that, and that was a great honor for me to stand up in front of that room and talk to those award recipients. But the kicker of it was all their bosses are the guys that I came up with, right? So, I appreciate you, though. I do enjoy the public speaking. I enjoy something that I like. Thank you. Renee, again, have you ever had to arrest, investigate a family member or close friend? If yes, how'd you get through it? Renee, the worst one in that is Denny Perkins. But I didn't have to arrest him or investigate it, but shit, I had to live through it. The fact that he is the turd that he is. No, that I haven't had to do any close family members or friends myself. Well, yeah, not for anything major. I've had to arrest fellow officers before, like Denny Perkins, but they weren't as bad as him. But like Denny Perkins, if you do some shit that's so out there, so bad, then I'm sorry, I can't help you. That's on you. And one more, you're the man that distinguishes between liars from truth tellers. How does your wife and daughters deal with you? As a typical teen back in the day, I like to think I pulled some sneaky stuff with my parents. Pretty sure it would suck if you were my dad, but guess what? You're right. It sucked for them. And, because 98.5% of what I do for a living is read people. And it really wasn't fair for them. Not only that, but I was probably the worst teenager in the history of the world, so I knew all the tricks. All right, let's go to Justin J.C. Creech, Creech. Justin Creech, I'm from Denham Springs, Louisiana. I would just like to know, aside from stories told on the podcast, what is the best untold story? Justin, that's a hard one. It's like the other one asked me about the worst cases or whatever, because I have best untold stories that are funnier than shit, and then I have best untold stories that are horrible. I can't answer, brother. I tell you what, when I do the episodes, if I say this is my best, like I told you at the beginning of Monsters, it's going to be one of the worst, or it was the worst single victim homicide that I'd ever seen because of all the circumstances, then I'll let you know, brother. All right? Appreciate you. Alyssa Reeves from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, currently living in Pahrump. It's spelled Pahrump, and she put it in parentheses. It's PUH-rump, Pahrump, Nevada. I might have to look that one up, Alyssa. I've done a lot of traveling in Nevada. I might have to look that up. All right, so she's asked, or says, because it's Mardi Gras season and I miss Louisiana so much, what is your favorite king cake flavor? Hands down, no problem there. Mine is pralines and cream. Yankees would say pralines or whatever, but pralines and cream stuffed with extra cream cheese. Love on that one, sweetie. And what's yours? Send me a message what your favorite one is, and we'll see what we can do about that. Let's see. Have you ever lost a colleague to criminal violence? This is Renee again. Were you there at the time of the crime? Renee, I'm gonna skip to somebody else real quick. I'm gonna actually use your sweetie, but I'm gonna come back and do another episode. Okay. Let's see. Brenda King Aranda from Mesa, Arizona. What case where you had to deal with children and you changed their lives for the better? That is a really good one. Brenda, there's a lot of them. I worked at a juvenile detention correction center before I was in uniform patrol the first time. And so I like to think that I had a positive motivation on those kids, but I can tell you on David Constance, the son that they did of course they raped all the kids, right? But the son, when he got done with the Child Advocacy Center interview, and they asked him, Jennifer asked him, said, is there anything else that's horrible that you want to tell me about? And he starts crying again. I'm like, holy shit, what's he going to say now? And he started to talk about how he was hungry and never had enough to eat. But I think about kids like that, and I know they've gone to good homes, or they actually went to a sister's home, and I mean, they were straight A students, and they've gone on to do so well. I know another victim that I had now is like a social worker, and I think there's a lot of them that I probably helped directly or indirectly. Even though I haven't followed up with that many, but yeah. And I always try to really help the kids. But thanks, Brenda. I appreciate that question. Thank you so much. And John Wesley Wagner tagged Jennifer Wagner in Jennifer Wagner says, John Wesley Wagner, this will be fun. I just love Woody. And you didn't ask me any question. So thank y'all, John and Jennifer. Love you too. Sip of beer. Jessica Kennedy from Denham Springs. What made you decide to become a polygraphist? Spelling, was it a case? All right. So Jessica, I had always been interested in it, but I never sought it out. And they had been trying, the powers that be had been trying to get Sheriff Graves to send some of the, I guess you would say, older detectives at the time to polygraph school for a long time, because Livingston Parish used to have to sub out, anytime they needed a polygraph, they had to sub it out to somebody. Well, the problem with that is, when you need a polygraphist, then it's usually the shit's hit the fan, right? Or sugar's turned to shit, and you need a polygraphist now. And ultimately, Mr. Kearney Foster, who was they said his chief criminal deputy, but really he ran everything in the sheriff's office except for the civil side. And when Mr. What was his name? This was before my time. It was really close with Willie and his daddy. He was the chief criminal deputy, and he passed. I always used to hear stories about him. But anyway, when this gentleman passed, they never gave up. I think out of respect to him, they never gave anybody else the title of chief criminal deputy, but Kearney Foster would have had it. So he just stuck with his chief of detectives or whatever it was, but he ran everything. And Mr. Kearney, now, don't get me wrong, he used to tear my ass up. Uniform patrol, SRT, detectives, whatever. I mean, he would tear my ass up every time I deserved it, right? But he also liked the way that I work, and he's the reason that I made detective in like a year and a half, and he's the reason that I got to go to polygraph school. And he went to Sheriff Graves and said, hey, this is one. And the sheriff called me in and asked me, he said, would you want to go to polygraph school? And it's a long commitment and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, heck to the yeah, and so I owe that to Mr. Kearney Foster, who passed this year due to complications of COVID, and prayers for his beautiful family and his beautiful wife. But that's it. That's my true decision on it is Kearney Foster. And what he told me was, he said, Woody, and I see him sitting behind his desk with his fingers steepled up, and I thought I was in trouble when he called me down for something. And he said he kind of told me before the sheriff told me, and he said, what do you think about going? He said, let me tell you this, my advice to you is you need to go. First of all, he said, you're smart enough to pass it. It's a hard school. He said, secondly, you're the investigator that can use this in combination, your skills in combination with a polygraph to get people to confess. And he said, the third thing is you get that license, unless you screw it up, nobody can ever take it away from you. So thank you, Mr. Kearney. Rest in peace. All right. Mary Fuller. What are the two most important things you would advise a new detective to observe as he begins his career? Mary from suburban Raleigh, North Carolina. Love hearing y'all from all over the country. Thank you, Mary. Two most important things I would advise a new detective to observe as he begins his career. I would say you've got to keep your mouth shut and watch the older detectives. All right. And I was blessed, y'all. And I had some of the best in the world, as in my opinion, that I gleaned from. And by that, I mean, I would watch. I tell you what, the one thing I would tell them is to keep your mouth shut and watch other detectives. Watch as many interrogations as you can, and then take the best that you see from the different detectives, or the best techniques, or whatever you can glean from them. And then the second part answer to that question is I would adapt, was what I did. I would adapt their methods to my style and use it to kick ass, right? And that's what I did. And I had some characters, man. My dear dad, Chuck Watts, I mean, shit, that dude, he knows. He get excited about, I call it Homicide Chuck. He loved to work his homicides, but he had some great skills. And then there was Benita Sager. I don't know what her last name is now. I think she might be remarried. She was like 30-something years, a female detective that I gleaned a lot of stuff from. Then I gleaned a lot of stuff from Mr. Kearney. I gleaned a lot of stuff from just the older detectives and adapted them to my own style. So that's my answer to that one. And thank you, dear. All right. Lisa Paciorek, Paciorek from Junction City, Kansas. What case made you want to go home and hug your kids? Holy shit, Lisa. A bunch of them. Let's go different ends of the scale. Cases like the Constance and Shrimp Boat and stuff like that. They, baby rape cases, always. Dead baby cases. Oh, God. And dead teenagers. And like Caitlin Adele, when she was murdered by Mark Lewis, she was the same age as my daughter, and their names, it's Caitlin and Kate Lee. That one really made me want to go home and hug. And other than that, cases, every time I got shot at, or I had a gun put in my face and I was able to obviously come out alive, then that shit made me want to go home and hug my kids. And I remember one guy that I fought, he pulled a gun on me, and literally pointed in my face, and I got it to the side and ended up fighting him to the ground. And it was a death fight. And Leon Winstead, who was AP4 or Albany Police Officer 4 forever, was the first one to reach me, and he helped me and basically saved my life.
Hey y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin-baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/reallife. That's GOBBLE.com/reallife for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
Won it many, many times. And then afterwards, I was kind of shook up a little bit. And he's the one that gave me my phone, and he had dialed my daughter's number for me because he knew, we hung out together on days off, and he knew my daughter. Yeah. Good question, Lisa. Thank you. All right, so Mariana Camilla, Comell, from Mims, Florida. Was there ever a case that you had it all figured out, but turned out to be completely wrong? I know, not likely, but had to ask. Actually, Mariana, let's see, like using the polygraph, when the FBI, I forget the name of what I named the episode, gave me the bad information, and the girl failed the polygraph to that one question. I kind of thought I had that one figured out, but I can tell you what, man, there's a lot of cases that I would start to investigate that I would think was going to go one way and they ended up going another, So as far as like one that jumps right in front of my mind that I got totally wrong and like sent somebody to prison or something, no, I can't tell you that. But I didn't mind being wrong. Mr. Kearney used to tell me, son, you never screw anything up, it means you're not doing anything. So if I was wrong, I'll tell you what. Well, I wasn't wrong on what happened to Jackie. I just didn't know what I didn't know. That's a horrible case, right? I mean, yeah, that one. I'm gonna go back and change my answer. Was there ever a case that you had? I didn't really have it all figured out, but it turned out to be completely wrong. What happened to Jackie? I wouldn't have listened to that jackass ER doctor, and I would have forced my way in or got a search warrant to go in while she was in the emergency room, and I would have seen all these wounds on her, and I could have done something different maybe. But again, I was a rookie. Yeah, and another person backed it up, said, Marion, I love your question. Would love to know if someone could get past Woody. Doubt it. All right, so Yvette Williams from Sheridan, California. Yvette is also a Dream Team moderator, big, huge supporter of Courtney Coco. Also, we love you, Yvette. Where'd you meet Cindy and where'd you go on your first date? Oh, Lord. Cindy and I met in high school, and she actually dated my best friend, and I dated hers. So first date, I don't know, but I can tell you I made her first alcoholic drink she ever had in her entire life, and it was a screwdriver. And it was her boyfriend's house, who was my best friend at the time. A first date, I don't know. And then we end up, after all those years later, hooking back up, and she's been stalking me ever since. But just teasing Cindy. Rebecca Spina says Cindy Overton, he probably read you your rights on the first date. Let's see. And then Renee says, Cindy Overton, I just watched the last YouTube live. I think it was the last one, and saw you explain your love story. Loved it, and you look beautiful without makeup. Love you. All right. And Cindy says, thank you. Nancy Shows asking about the YouTube. Y'all, if you want to know about a YouTube, you have to go to YouTube and research Real Life, Real Crime podcast on YouTube. It can't be just Real Life, Real Crime. And we have every one of our episodes is on there, and we're still trying to edit. Cindy's getting it done a little bit at a time, editing the videos or the episodes that are on there and putting pictures and stuff, making it more like a video than a podcast episode. Y'all have to scroll through this because it's a bunch of back and forth that doesn't have anything to do with Ask Me Anything. Let's see. Pull up YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Here's one I listened to. All right. So I'm going to try to get to one more, and then I got to get out because I had a couple on the crew page that I want to answer that I think are important. Oh, my God. Stephanie Alexandra Gibson from Watson, Louisiana says, question 1, who is the absolute dumbest criminal you have come across? And question 2, have you ever had someone just lie their ass off a polygraph test? Question 1, God, there's so many. But the one dumbass who kept hiding in the same closet in that 1-bedroom trailer in the middle of the country and would sneak up on the trailer, Everett Thornton Jr., I think, or he might have been a third or fourth because I arrested that whole family. He was just, he wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but there's so many of them like that there's so many that I tricked into bullshit that I can't tell about. But that's a really good question, Stephanie. But I always say prisons are full of dumb criminals. It's hard to catch a smart one, all right? And that's just a fact. Have you ever had someone just lie their ass off on a polygraph test? All the time, 50% of the time, at least. And the ones I really love are the ones, when I was doing them in the private business, especially relationship tests, when they come in and they just lie, no, and then you come back out and it's like, you fail. Then they turn around and they confess. Well, yeah, because I did this, and this, and then go to run them again, change the questions, ask about that and that and that. So is there anything else besides this or besides what we already discussed, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? They fail again. And then they want to confess again. So yeah, that stepping in happens all the time. And some people think they could cheat you or beat you. All right, so look, I'm going to keep recording these. I'm going to stop right here. Donald Wainwright, you're next. But what I'm going to do is go to the crew page because there's some very good questions. Courtney Pettit. God, Courtney, I hope I'm saying your name right. I know who your sister is. And let's see. This is important. This is the El Campo babysitter charged with capital murder of a baby. And there's an article on it. And she says, this is so sad. And now she came to the lives and everything, Courtney, and you're awesome. And she posts all the time. So I'm going to take the time and answer a question. It says, Woody, how does the DA or whoever decide these things, decide on what's capital murder and what isn't? Are there certain requirements that make it a capital murder, or is it just up to whoever makes these decisions? Thanks in advance. All right, y'all. I think there were like 100 comments in response to this question. I'm going to tell you this. It's important that you understand it. In the state of Louisiana, capital murder, it has to have one or more than one of I'm going off the top of my head. Let me get a sip of beer. Is what we call aggravating circumstances. And evidently I'm not drinking fast enough. I'm 47 minutes in. I'm just about to finish my second beer. What we call aggravating circumstances. Now, in Louisiana, that's, I think it's generally, it used to be 12, maybe they moved the age to 13 or under. And that could be anything from aggravated rape to the murder. Even though nobody's ever been prosecuted, or only one person was ever prosecuted for the death penalty on an aggravated rape, and he didn't get it. He was out of Jefferson Parish, although David Constant should have got it, and a lot of people that I got confessions out of should have got it. But aggravated circumstances, it could be a rape on somebody that's over a certain age or under a certain age. Or now when it comes to murder, it is the same thing. Victims over a certain age or under a certain age, or it's a murder committed during the commission of a crime, another felony, like a robbery. If I go in and rob the bank, or you know what, let's use the Ashley Posey. She was a dumbass. Go back to the dumbass criminal question. They go to rob this guy for his pills, and dumbass accidentally pulls the trigger. And I know he accidentally pulled it. He didn't mean to do it. But guess what? It was during the commission of a robbery, so technically that's a capital murder, and they could have been charged with the death penalty during the commission of a crime under or over a certain age. You kill more than one person. If you go in and you kill multiple people in a crime, that could be a death penalty case. Let me think. Shit, I'm sure I'm missing something. But anyway, it's got to be severe, all right? And by that I mean, like, it's going to shock your senses. It's got police officers. There's certain requirements. Now, who makes the decision? The original decision is up to the district attorney in the bill of indictment. All right. So as to what they're going to seek in the bill of indictment. Now, the bill of indictment is what they take to the grand jury and try to have passed. And the grand jury comes back and says, yes, it's first degree murder. That's capital murder in Louisiana. It's first degree murder. We found probable cause for first degree murder. Now, prosecuting, that's a whole monkey of a different color, right? Prosecuting it, you not only do you have to prove it's capital murder, but then you have if they find them guilty of capital murder or first degree murder in Louisiana, then you have the prosecution phase, which is a whole separate trial, believe it or not. Same jury members, then they get to hear all the shit they didn't get to hear during the trial. Aggravating circumstances, circumstances that could have made this person commit these crimes, where they're abused as a kid or lifelong narcotics. Let's use Monsters, for example. Had they done the death penalty, they would have gone to that phase. His defense would have been, I've been using dope my whole life, and I'm sick, and I don't deserve to die because I'm sick, and I did this because I'm sick, whatever, right? All that bullshit that they can dig up, the fluff they can put up to the jury. And then prosecution has to come back and say, well, you know what, though? Lots of people are addicted to drugs, or lots of people have bad childhoods or whatever it may be. So anyway, it's a lot that goes into it, but ultimately it's up to the district attorney as to what they are initially charged with. I can't say that because, I mean, I could charge them based off the facts of the crime. Well, if it goes to the grand jury, it's up to the DA to seek the bill of indictment for other states to be capital murder. Louisiana is first-degree murder. The prosecution of it, generally, that's the DA meeting with the family members and deciding if they actually want to go through with it. Because a lot of family members don't, not just because of the length of the appeals, but some people just don't think the death penalty is right. Me, fuck them. If you dealt with some of the people I dealt with, I'm not saying everybody. I'm certainly not saying everybody. But you dealt with some of the people that I dealt with. You sat there and you looked in the face of evil, and evil never cries unless they get busted. Yeah, and they're crying because they got busted. But you look into the face of evil, and you know this sumbitch gets out, they going to do it again. They don't deserve to breathe air, in my opinion. But I understand a lot of y'all out there are against the death penalty, and I get that. That's your opinion. Me personally, I think in certain cases that certain people just don't deserve to breathe, and that's why we have it on the table. But as far as the death penalty acting as a deterrent, obviously it doesn't, right? But I believe in the ultimate punishment, and I'll get off that horse. And with that being said, I'm going to conclude this episode of Ask Me Anything. Y'all, I love to do this. It's been 55 minutes already, and I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Thank you for listening. Whoever knew that you'd like to sit around, I get to drink a beer and just answer questions, right, about my life at that. So I appreciate it, and I'm actually going to turn this off and record another one. I'm going to drink a bunch more beer, so the next Ask Me Anything session that y'all hear will be, it might be 6 months away, but when you hear it, you might want to listen to it because it's probably going to get pretty good. So I'm trying to get to the rest of these questions. I think I had 120 something questions to answer, and I'll see how far I can get. But thank you for supporting Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And it's huge. So I tell y'all every week, this is where I'm supposed to say all that podcaster shit that I can't remember. So Cindy made me a list. So I'm going to read them real quick. Oh, local business advertising. Y'all, we do it for the national commercials. If you have a local business, I want to bring it home. Like our friends do. Jim Chapman now, he's got, at least 2 different podcasts. And then our local musicians and stuff like that. I believe in local. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to make any more than we're making off the national people, and we certainly have the national people. I'm thankful for that, but I would love to help Louisiana if I can. So if you have a local business and we can go any different route, just hit Cindy up at cindy@realliferealcrime.com. And follow us on Twitter at Real Life Crime. I don't even know about the Twitter account, y'all. I don't think I've ever been on Twitter. But Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/realliferealcrime and get 2 months free with the annual membership. And a lot of people are using that, y'all. We had a shit ton, and I appreciate y'all doing that. But when you use that annual, you pay the year ahead of time, you save 2 months, but you also get your full benefits right away, whether it's the phone call with me. And if I haven't had the phone call, message Cindy, we'll get it set up. I got to talk to a lot of great lifers, and I appreciate that. And the tip line, I've never said this, and I should have been saying it. Tip line, y'all, is 225-395-1302. If you don't want to message in or whatever, and you want to remain anonymous, I don't care. Star 67, do whatever you want to do. But this is specifically on Miss Barbara Blunt, this case, and we want justice for Courtney and justice for Miss Barbara. And finally, last but not least, LOPA. Visit lopa.org / visit lopa.org and there's a fill out the form. And the how did you hear about us? You click RLRC Lifer. And then we have follow us on Facebook, Real Life, Real Crime, friends and fans and crews. Cindy, you should have put this in order. And then you have follow us on Real Life, Real Crime Lanyap page. Follow us on Real Life, Real Crime Patreon only. All right, so let me back it up because I always end with LOPA. Y'all, be a hero. Give the gift of everything, whether it's sight or life or whatever. Please, please, please go to lopa.org and sign up to be an organ donor. And yes, you can do it if you're from outside the state of Louisiana. Lori Steele has actually put the link on the crew page to it and the comments about LOPA, but it's on there. There's a spot. You can be from out. It doesn't matter if you're from Timbuktu. Let me pick a spot on the map here. It doesn't matter if you're from the Congo in Africa and you want to be an organ donor, you can go to lopa.org and sign the F up. All right, and be a hero. And y'all, it's a nonprofit organization. I'm still going to do episodes where victims of homicides, organs save lives. And we're going to do when I do that episode, if you don't cry, then you must be the dude from Monsters, right? Or whatever. So anyway, that's it. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
Get ready, you're gonna do time. Real life, real crime.
Real Life, Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you by Woody Overton and executive producer Toby Templey.